You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everyone, welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh, glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio. We're also streaming at cklu.ca online. You can check us out anytime, especially if you download the Radio Player Canada app from CKLU's website. You just click on the Radio Player Canada app. If you want to stream us, that is, you can just listen to us right off the internet. Or if you want to take us with you on your device, you just download the Radio Player Canada app, and you can listen to this show along with other programming from CKLU, which you can find what programming is available on CKLU's website. The schedule is there. And while you're there, make sure to support CKLU by buying some merch, T-shirts, mugs, hats, you name it, it's there. Or just simply make a donation. This is your station, and it's basically kept alive by people like yourself. And that's the only way that it stays on the air. So we really appreciate everybody's support for the station. It is your conversation this morning on your station, which is CKLU 96.7 FM. We're also live streaming at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Follow the channel and the page. We really appreciate that because it really makes it possible for others to hear about us. Platforms such as Facebook and YouTube rely on algorithms, and the more people liking, following, subscribing, commenting, things like that make the page relevant, and it makes it so that way more people, it makes it visible. So the reason why I'm struggling with words is because it seems like there's some algorithms that you almost think it's trying to bury a specific channel or page, and then it tries to promote other ones. We don't know what reasons there are for them. Some videos get a lot of views and some not so much, and I can only guess it's because of the content of the videos. And there's AI that picks up what's being said in the videos and then goes on to suppress it or promote it based on what's said in the video, which isn't that sound like communism to you, but it is what it is. You would think it would just, you make a platform, someone gets on there, someone wants to watch it. You know, it's the same for everyone. It's the same for every video, but it's not, and it is what it is. So I think the more we just engage with each other, and you share it with your community and your friends, it brings more people to the table to have a discussion about the news, the issues that surround us here in our community, and those that we have more abroad, whether it's in our province, our country, our world kind of thing. So thanks for being with us this morning. We have a great show planned for you as usual. The show is found on demand afterwards on Facebook and YouTube, along with twitter.com/Sudbury News, now X, and Sudbury.news, which is Sudbury's news aggregating website. All of the local news on one website. You just go to Sudbury.news, and it's basically all there for you, from Sudbury.com, Sudbury Star, CTV Northern Ontario, CBC Sudbury. It's all there. You click on the story, it goes to their webpage. So it's not like anyone is stealing news. It's an aggregator that's there to promote the news and make it more convenient for people to find the news and promote it free of charge to any of those outlets or the users. And it's a service to the community, basically. Now that it's impossible to share news on Facebook or Instagram, the most widely used platforms for sharing news. The government's policies to help local media shut those down, shut the ability to share news on those platforms down, whether it was incompetence or it was on purpose. That's the end result. Uh, they said it's to support local news. Doesn't seem like it supported local news very much by doing that. Anyways, I digress, and we're going to move on because we're going to have a really great show today. Lots to talk about. We'll go through some of the headlines here in town, and then we'll do our deep dive into a letter that Justin Trudeau wrote to the country when he was first elected. The promises he made. A lot of times we don't go back and hold politicians, or anyone for that matter, accountable on things they've said in the public. And this is a great time to really go back and see if the promises and the just the overall vibe of the letter, if you still think that that's the way that Justin Trudeau, is as a leader. Did he come good on some of the promises that he made? We'll just basically, so stick around for that. We'll basically look into if what he said actually came to be or not, and what things did, what things didn't, because like it or not, we're going to be having an election coming up very shortly, and those things are important. Somebody who has been in power for 9 years and has a track record, what they say and what they do, if they're in line, are really good, but what they say and what they do are totally different, well, then there's a little, we're going to take a bit of issue with that, unless they explain why, it is what it is and it makes sense, and and they're transparent with voters, then it's okay. I mean, you don't, just because you say you want to do something doesn't always mean you can do it. But is it something that could have been done? Are there things that could have been done that you just didn't do? But stick around for that if that's something that interests you. We'll have a great show. We're looking forward to your comments. Right after the weather, we'll dive right in right now, and then we'll be back with news, headlines, your comments, and more right after this. And as usual, weather brought to you by Duck Check. Visit duckcheck.com for your cleaning, duck cleaning and inspection services. Let them know that we sent you to get $100 off your next duck cleaning and inspection. The current temperature today is 20 degrees Celsius. It's mostly cloudy. Today you can expect it to be cloudy with a 70% chance of showers, a risk of thunderstorm, high of 24, humidex 32. The UV index will be 6 or high. Tonight, cloudy, 70% chance of showers, changing to 30% chance of showers this evening. Risk of thunderstorm this evening. Fog patches developing after midnight, low of 17. Wednesday, it's cloudy, becoming a mix of sun and cloud in the morning. Fog patches dissipating in the morning, high of 28, humidex 35. So again, the humidex, making it very uncomfortable out there. Yesterday, today, and again tomorrow. I look at your long range again, mainly cloudy, high of 28, humidex 32, 30. What did we say for tomorrow? 35 tomorrow. And then 29 and sunny on Thursday. Friday, it's 28 degrees, a mix of sun and cloud, and 40% chance of showers on Saturday with a high of 26, mix of sun and cloud, 23 on Sunday. Mix of sun and cloud, high of 25 on Monday. Your satellite here we'll just have to refresh this because it looks like it didn't refresh to today, but now it did. So hopefully it'll stay there. 4 a.m. Looks like we got a lot of clouds. It's an interesting looking satellite. The clouds basically go in a straight line all the way from James Bay all the way. So it goes from about Wawa to the Quebec border width, and all the way from James Bay, all the way down through North Bay, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, and on down through Michigan. basically is where the cloud cover is, and then you can see some of that clearing going to be coming in from the west. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by Duck Check, DUCT check.com. Give them a call at 705-918-4848. Ask for Steve. Let them know that we sent you, and you'll get $100 off your next duct cleaning and inspection. Remember, they cover the Sudbury area and Muskoka area as well, everywhere from Huntsville all the way to Perry Sound. And again, they're the trusted experts in duct cleaning and inspection. You can trust them for sure. Let them know we sent you. Ask for Steve. $100 off. It'll get you on your next duct cleaning and inspection. We'll be back with your comments, news headlines, and more right after this. As soon as I find it on here. There you go. And we are back. And who is on with us? It looks like we got a good little number here this morning. I noticed when I missed some days, which I did, I missed last Thursday and Friday. There's a little lull in the amount of people that are on first thing in the morning, but yesterday we had a good bunch on by the end of the show, and looking forward to being on with you guys today. And first to the YouTube party is Nana. Good morning, all. Blessings, and good morning to you as well, Nana. Hope you're having a good morning. Judy's first to the Facebook party. Good morning, Judy, to you and Marianne. Good morning, everyone. From Barry, liked and shared as usual. And Monique, good morning, Sudbury, with a smiley emoji. David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. Glad to see you back on here, David. And same to you. And Belinda, good morning. Well, let's see what your comment of the day is. Looking forward to it each and every day. Evil preaches tolerance until it is dominant. Then it tries to silence good. Have faith that evil is being exposed and its reign coming to an end. Definitely. You are so right on that. But it'll keep pushing forward until someone pushes back. That's what's going to happen, right? An example of this was my grandson. He's not evil, by the way, but it is an example of how things happen when there's different agendas being pushed forward. So let's say there's something that's trying to be pushed forward and it's not in the best interest of people. And people say no. So example of this is my grandson got up on his chair and he wanted to wash his hands first, but then he found that washing his hands is pretty fun and he wanted to stay in the sink and play with the water. So he had a cup and he wanted to fill it. So he filled the cup. Well, he wants to now pour that cup into another cup. So there's a cup on the counter. So he picks up the cup and he wants to pour it on the cup in the counter. But I know it's probably going to happen and we're going to end up with a lot of water on the counter. And so I say, no, we're just going to put the other cup in the sink and you can then pour it in. He goes, oh, okay, no problem. Pours it in and then fills up the cup again and right away wants to fill a cup on the counter. And I'm like, no, we're just going to, put it in the sink. The reason why I'm sharing this story is that he did not stop. He didn't complain. He just kept his, he was laser focused on pouring water in a cup on the counter. So he just kept doing it every time and I kept putting it back. So let's say I get tired of putting it back in the sink. So that way there's no water all over the counter. He's just going to, then he'll get his way. He'll just, and again, there was no emotion here. He wasn't complaining. He was just going about his business and he wanted to pour it in a cup on the counter instead of a cup in the sink. And so this is similar to people trying to push forward policies and agendas that are not in the best interest of people. You'll get a pushback, but eventually you're like, wow, is my whole existence to just push back all the time? Like I have to actually have to go out and do things too. So then the people that are pushing these things forward eventually push it forward. They just don't stop. It's like a glacier. Like they'll just continue. It's not like they get stopped and they go, oh, they stopped us. We're done. No, they just, okay, we're just going to keep it up until it happens. to some degree, it's admirable that they have persistence the way they do. Evil is persistent, just like good is persistent. And if evil is more persistent than good is, evil is going to prevail. Again, thanks for that, Belinda. You definitely send us off on the on the right track each and every morning, and I appreciate that. And that's going to go into what we're going to talk about today towards the end of the show as well. And Denise, blessings everyone. Loving this morning rain. Good for the gardens, right, Denise? Shared to groups, thank you very much. That's always appreciated. And we appreciate all the new people on. And if you're new, we welcome you here. This is your conversation. Feel free to comment. We discuss the state of our city, our area, our country, our world on the show each and every weekday morning right here on CKLU 96.7 FM. Good morning, Debbie. Smiley emoji. Denise, the Moose radio is coast to coast. Just saying. It is too. You're right. The Moose. They have mostly in rural, like that's where they kind of cover. They have coverage in rural areas, but yeah, they are coast to coast. Jerome says, good morning, Sudbury and beyond. Good morning, Jerome. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being with us. And Miles, hi. Morning. Yes, I heard that letter yesterday from MP at a parliamentary committee meeting. Yeah, and I had this, it's, what's his nose there? I always like, I like having him on is Larry Brock. You know, has a history of, just what I like people to do is holding people accountable. And that's what he does a good job of. And so, yeah, so he'll read the letter from Justin Trudeau. And, but that was from about a week ago or so, but maybe they read it again yesterday. Leandre, good news coming out of Venezuela. So I was watching the happenings there. I was reading Spencer Fernando's take on it, that the free world needs to rise up because definitely it was a stolen election by a dictator. And the people, I was watching live video all last night of people in the streets rising up. And so if you say good news coming out of Venezuela, you have later news than I was able to get. So it looks like hopefully good has prevailed in Venezuela and things are turned around there. I'm hoping for that. Denise, as a camper growing up here, August, we're always the hottest, and then the nights you start getting nice and cool. It was the best time for camping, for sure, in August, yes. And I'll even say early September as well, because it's right after August. That's when I take my holidays from work, is September. Everyone looks at me like I have three heads, but, if you want to go to Canada's Wonderland, you want to do something, go camping, whatever, parks are less busy. You can enjoy things more, less crowds, not as hot, blah, blah, blah. But that's when everyone else is ramping up, ready to go back to work. And I'm like, okay, see ya. I'll be back. Marianne, we are gray covered. Apparently, we're going to get rain. That's in Barrie, yes. I would think so. Belinda says Olympic organizers were apologizing for the party of the Last Supper. Nice to see people pushing back and boycotting this vile portrayal. Yes, it is. When anybody is mocking anyone else's fundamental beliefs. I mean, as there's a few people on here who aren't very religious. They might be spiritual, and they know there's nefarious things that have gone on where people have used religion in the past for not so good purposes, and that has happened, and it does happen. But really, if you look at today's, let's say Christian community in Canada, although there are some parties out there that are trying to paint them as being hateful and violent and all these things, the evidence isn't there for that. It's just another kind of faction trying to make it seem like that because I've grown up in this country and I've known many people, and I haven't seen a Christian yet. Um, the core belief is to love God and love your neighbor, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. So let's say you just take that alone. Uh, so what? You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to tear something like that down? Now there's organizations that have built up around that have used that as a front. And yes, there are, well, you have to ask yourself, why are there so many religions in the first place, right? But at the same time, Christianity in and of itself, if you take the person that the religions are based around, and that would be Christ, Jesus, he didn't start all those religions. There was people who started those religions, right? And so if you go right down to the core of who he is, and that's what I did at one point in my life, just because I wanted to basically find out for myself, right? Just like I do on the show, just like I do always. I just want to ask questions and find things out for myself. I found out he's got a bad rap. He had a really bad rap from what he really is, for what's people accuse him of. Or it's because others have done things in his name is what the bad rap is. If you really do a deep dive into who he really is, was and is, you'll find that there's nothing that you can find in there that isn't good for humanity. Basically, here's a person who's sacrificed everything they had their whole life for people. That's just basically what it comes down to. And people say he gave his life. That's what he did. He actually lived and died for others, and that's pretty much it. A great example in that way, if you just put it in that way, right? And there's other things involved in there. It's way deeper than I'm just oversimplifying it, but it's something we can all take a page from. Doing something for others, really sacrificing your own wants and needs sometimes to help other people. It's a really great ideology if you just want to boil it down to something that simple. And so for another, I guess, politicized group to constantly, mock, make fun of, it's, I don't know. I'm not upset as a Christian myself. I'm not upset. Like, it doesn't upset me. It's like it's someone teasing you. The best way to have someone to stop teasing you is to not react to someone teasing you, and they'll eventually stop. you just don't react because it. But if it bothers you and you react and they get a charge out of you, well, then they'll keep doing it, right? So, anyways, it just shows the character of who's behind which movements, really, like who's willing to go to those levels to stoop that low. It just, again, that's what, they're just showing their true colors. And I think that's just what it comes down to. Is there's no getting upset about it. But yeah, you have to push back, even if just to talk about it and get perspective on it. Yeah, so we're just talking about the rain and the weather. And good morning, Vin. Thanks for being on. Hope you're having a great morning. Marianne says, with the agenda being pushed on everyone, you never let down your guard. Always push forward in the fight, for sure. Yes, Marianne says she follows Larry Brock, who you'll be hearing from very shortly when we're talking about holding Justin Trudeau accountable to his letter to the country when he was first elected. It's like going back in time. We're going to take a time capsule today. We're going to go back in time and read Justin Trudeau's letter that he wrote to Canadians and see if, in fact, the things he said in his letter came to be, right? If he actually stood by his word. And good morning, Kevin. Good morning to everyone. I hope you're having a good morning. Marianne says, I'm not afraid to tell Larry as it is. Okay, that's good. You shouldn't be afraid to tell anyone as it is, right? And we need to speak the truth. People say speak our truth, but I would say speak the truth. And if somebody corrects you and it's really the truth, they're saying the truth, we should right away acknowledge that and learn from it and move on. Acknowledge other people when they have important things to say. Vin, so are we discussing Trudeau replacing nominees by way of appointment? Question mark. Removed the 3 running and appointed his personal choice. Democracy dying. You know what? I'm not up on that, but that's similar to what's going on in the United States, I would think. I know Miles shed a little bit of light on that, but at the same time, you can kind of see they're trying to appoint someone in the United States to be the vice or to be the next president when there's a democratic process. And we have democratic processes here in Canada as well. And yes, there's always, I've seen anyways with this particular government, ways of diverting democracy to go ahead with one's own kind of agenda. We'll talk more about that in a little while. No one should ever be appointed. That is not true democracy. That is true. Kamala Harris was just appointed. This is Vin as well. The U.S. and the Democratic voters are supporting it. Yeah, whether it was just a big campaign to push, to do a media blitz to get people on board with Kamala, all the propaganda ads and things like that to boost her up. And then when they do go through the democratic process, they've already kind of said, yeah, you know what? I think we need to go with this person or not. It's still not being done in the most democratic of ways. So government is spending, this is Marianne, 134 million on buying 5 new helicopters. That money sure could go to something more important. Just saying. Yeah, I would say, yes, there's always more important things money could go towards, but having at least some type of, core military is important as well. To defend your own country, I think is important. I think things have been let go over time too much. You should always just kind of designate a certain amount of your resources to that as an ongoing thing and not always be taking away and giving it on a basis. It's like, okay, what's our revenue numbers for Canada? Okay, so much percentage is going to go to military, and it's just an ongoing thing all the time. Denise, the churches are organizations that are viewed as human traffickers. It is not the people that we talk of. It is the abuse through the churches and the Vatican that have to stop. Again, right? Like I go back to saying the churches that were built up by people are indeed that, right? But the actual, so if you're mocking a church, again, mocking anybody or doing anything, whatever, speaking the truth like you're doing right there is perfect. I mean, I guess it's a huge conversation, religion. I just want to separate religion from the person, the being that they created it around. Definitely not him. He did not start that particular denomination, right? Was Jesus a Catholic? Right? So I just ask people that. Again, that's controversial, and many Catholics listening today, and I hope you don't take offense to what I'm saying. I'll just say Jesus is Jesus, and religions were started around him, using him and his teachings and scriptures that were based around him to start religions. Why are there so many of them out there, right? And so getting to know him is a little different thing than to learn him through a religion. And that would be the most important thing if you want to be a Christian, is to get to know him, right? just like anything. If you were a Buddhist, you want to get to know Buddha and what his teachings were, or any other religion, get to the core. What are the teachings based around? Go right to the source. Don't take what anyone tells you. Okay, so Belinda, Trudeau is panicking and desperately trying to hang on to his tyranny. Time's up. Marianne says, yep. Nothing like keeping the corruption going forward. Okay, and we have just a few more comments, and then we'll dig into a couple stories here and around town, and then we'll dive into the letter from Justin Trudeau, promising so much at the beginning of his reign over the people of Canada. Yes, the Council of Nicaea. So this is Denise, the story from the Council of Nicaea. Many of us are studying out there. This is why we left religion and became spiritual. To no more dictating and no more putting man's ways between our hearts and the divine in us, with us always. It is the people, the hearts that need to be cherished. These are my views. Bless the journey every day. Yeah, for sure. I think we're saying the same thing, exactly the same thing right here. 100%. And yeah, it is a journey. And all of our journeys, though different, are also very similar. And we sometimes rely on others, although we don't follow others per se. But we do sometimes we need each other. It's like this journey is meant to be a journey of fellowship and helping each other and working with each other and supporting each other. And when possible, teaching each other. When we find out something, we teach one another things, right? And we do need others. But it can be manipulated when someone takes it to the level of, an authoritarian level of this is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and you better believe it or that's it kind of thing, and then you feel, whoa, wait a minute. Don't I have a choice here? I expect a merger of parties. This has been, and they'll still lose. They're grasping at just at the last straw. So, okay, a merger of the parties. That's an interesting one. Yeah, just to combine the left together, I would think, is what you're saying. Denise, there are Christians that use their verses to attack people. Yes, I've seen that too. They've separated themselves in groups and they're very radical. Again, we honor the hearts, but we can't walk blindly, for sure. We're saying the same exact thing, for sure. Marianne, Vin, Scott, truthfully, if you want true democracy, we need to get rid of the parties. You vote these parties and their views. True democracy is referendums. I'm all with you on that one. I really wish we had, we have the ability these days with technology to have websites that will educate us, videos, text, links to history to study things. And even these things can be manipulated, but at the same time, we need to get there first. And then people vote on what it is that they want to have happen, even if it's just surveys. What do you think, kind of thing. And then it's more of a democracy that way. Okay, this is Marianne, only when people, meaning us, have the final say, then we're truly in charge. Until then, we have a rogue government. Oh, and the helicopters are police, not military. Okay, I hear you on that. I did not know that. Thanks for clarifying. Belinda, yes, beware of false prophets. They're only in it for a profit, right? So the word profit with the PROPHET compared to the PROFIT, profit, right? Vin, elections, remove corporate donations and sponsorship, cap donations to parties. Yeah, for sure. That's one way to do it. And we'll just round out some of the conversation here. Our hearts are universal. This is Denise. You spoke very well. We need more people to speak from their hearts. If Jesus was real in his stories, and his stories are true, he never wrote a word. He never sent us anything. The one made messages, hearts are universal. Okay, I'd have to read that again just to make sure. If he was real in his stories, and his stories are true, he never wrote a word. He never sent us anything. The one made messages, heart are universal. Okay, I think I got the gist of what you're saying there, but it's really early in the morning. So you'll have to forgive me using a Christian term, I guess, or a religious term, or a spiritual one. Forgiveness. 100% agreed with Belinda. That's Monique. Okay, so we all need independence in each riding, individual votes. For sure. That was Sheila. Thanks for being with us, Sheila, and good morning. And good morning, Claire. Thanks for being on. Let's check out a few headlines here. Just want to check in. Sudbury.com had a story that's been going around. Like all the news organizations were talking about it. Then we'll get Miles in and then we'll head in. So you never heard about the latest scandal with the government wanting Mr. Carney from the Bank of Canada running Liberal? No, that's just another one. Chalk them up. There's so many scandals out there. Might as well just bombard us with scandals so that way it'll just be tiresome to go through them all come election time. So this coming out of Elliott Lake, right? So Elliott Lake will not host the Kraft Hockeyville NHL preseason game. Remember when they won the Kraft Hockeyville and $250,000 were coming to them for upgrades? And but the arena won't be ready in time for the game. So along with the $250,000, they get a game that's going to be played. So Elliott Lake residents will have to drive to at least Sudbury or the Sioux to watch their NHL preseason game that their community earned this year. But which direction will they be traveling? Sault Ste. Marie or Sudbury are believed to be the only two cities in the running to host the exhibition game between the Ottawa Senators and Pittsburgh Penguins on September 29th. That game, along with $250,000 in upgrades to Centennial Arena, was part of the prize package Elliott Lake received as winners of the 2024 Kraft Hockeyville while during the the contest this past March. Their 57-year-old arena was forced to close suddenly last September due to structural issues and hasn't reopened since, which raised questions about meeting the requirements set out by the NHL and its Players Association to host a preseason game this fall. So, Sudbury, you might be getting a NHL game this September 29th, or it will be held in the Sioux. Disappointing for Elliott Lake in many ways, can you imagine? And I just wonder if Sidney Crosby, Malkin, some of the big names will be there for that game. A lot of times they're not. I remember Sudbury getting one preseason game, I forget, 15, 20 years ago, something like that, or more. It was the Ottawa Senators versus the Washington Capitals. And at the time, the big names were there. So the big names at the time. Coupled also from today's Sudbury.com good morning stories to start your day. Chelmsford couple celebrates 70th wedding anniversary. Lifelong Chelmsford residents Claire and Robert Gladu celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary on July 27th with more than 200 of their loved ones looking on. Marriages reaching the 7-decade mark are extremely rare, according to the U.S. Census Bureau data shared by calendarcanada.ca. Only 0.1% of marriages reach 70 years. This puts the Gladus in extremely rarefied company. Mr. and Mrs. Gladu were married July 26, 1954 in Chelmsford. The youngest of 10 children, Mrs. Gladu, was 16 on her wedding day. Yes, that was quite common back then. Mr. Gladue, from a family of 18 children, was 20. He was 20, she was 16. On property gifted by Mrs. Gladue's mother, the couple put up the family home where they still live today. In that home, and in just 7 years, the Gladues brought 7 children into the world in 7 years. So very different times back then. And congratulations to the Gladues' 70th wedding anniversary. Many of us would feel lucky just to live 70 years, let alone be married 70 years. I know I just had my 25th wedding anniversary. My wife said it feels like 70 years, but no, that's quite the accomplishment in any day and age, right? Very rare. What did they say again? It's 0.1% of marriages reach 70 years. Just a reminder to head on over to Sudbury.news for all the latest news headlines. As you can see here, if you haven't been over there, this is what it looks like. So you have stories from Sudbury.com, CBC, Sudbury, CTV, Northern Ontario, again, Sudbury Star, I know is going to have a story right there, Sudbury Star, right? So all the news headlines there from all of our local news, check it out. And there you can check out Sudbury News on demand as well. If you click on the Sudbury News Talk tab, you can, if you missed the show, you can check it out there. But now we're going to take a bit of a deep dive into what we were talking about earlier. This is our friend Larry Brock. He is going to take us back in time for the letter that Justin Trudeau wrote to Canadians, what he was promising to do when he took office. Okay, we'll be back right after this.
The famous slogan that Justin Trudeau used in 2015, sunny ways, Canadians, sunny ways. He even then wrote an open letter to Canadians, and I'm going to read various passages of that letter. It was dated November the 4th, 2015. Starts off, my dear friends.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
And there's a point of order.
Excuse me, Mr. Brock. Yeah. Thanks.
So what's the relevance?
I do find it relevant, but we always do offer very, very wide berth for such debate. And it is, the motion put forward allows, because it's not very specific, allows an extremely wide area to debate. Continue, Mr. Brock.
So partway through this open letter to Canadians, the Prime Minister says, our country faces many real and immediate challenges, from a struggling middle class to the threat of climate change. If we are to overcome these obstacles, Canadians need to have faith in their government's honesty and willingness to listen. Emphasis mine. That is why we committed to set a higher bar for openness and transparency in Ottawa. Government and its information must be open by default. Simply put, it is time to shine more light on government to make sure it remains focused on the people it was created to serve, you. But in order for you to trust your government, you need a government that will trust you. When we make a mistake, as all governments do, it is important that we acknowledge that mistake and learn from it. We know that you do not expect us to be perfect, but you expect us to work tirelessly and to be honest, open, and sincere in our efforts to serve the public interest. Before the election, we also made a commitment to bring new leadership and a new tone to Ottawa. Moving forward, we will pursue our goals and objectives with a renewed sense of collaboration. We fully understand and appreciate that partnerships with provincial, territorial, and municipal governments are vital to deliver the real positive change that we promised you. To close, I am deeply grateful to have this opportunity to serve you and every Canadian across our great country. I am committed to leading an open, honest government that is accountable to Canadians. Repeat, accountable to Canadians. Lives up to the highest ethical standards. Brings our country together and applies the utmost care and prudence in the handling of public funds. Thank you for having faith in me. Thank you for putting your trust in our team. We will not let you down. What an absolute joke. An absolute lie. We're talking about fraud in this committee. In my respectful opinion, the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, committed the biggest fraud on this country and Canadians. Everything that I read out in the record, he has done the complete opposite. Just that last line, to apply the utmost care and prudence in the handling of public funds. Would we be in the mess we are right now? Would we have the amount of public debt that we have now if he actually for 1 minute had respect for $1 of taxpayer money? Would we be spending over $21 billion on outside consultants and contractors with no oversight? Would we be in the situation where we've expanded our federal public service by 40%, increasing salaries substantially? Have Canadians looked at their level of service across this country and say, wow, I've received 40% more in value of services? I think if all four of you and Canadians who are watching this right now on my social media were to contact my staff in my constituency office, who spend all day long either on hold with various departments or dealing with issues that should be handled by our professional public service. They have very little time to do anything else other than government work.
Thank you
The famous
so much.
Break a leg.
Thank you, Hal. I appreciate it.
Canada is objectively broken. In 2013, this once great country was ranked 5th in the world for quality of living. However, fast forward a single decade and we've plummeted to number 33 on the list. Unfortunately, it seems like the country's decline has only just begun. For instance, the OECD predicts that Canada will be the worst performing advanced economy in the world for the next 4 decades straight. The average citizen pays roughly 50% in taxes. Our healthcare system just ranked 10th out of 10. We're sitting on one of the largest housing bubbles in history, with prices projected to rise another 20% over the next 2 years, and food banks can hardly keep up with the increasing number of people who can't afford to feed themselves. I do not advocate for hopelessness. However, if we have any shot at fixing the problems this country is facing, it first requires us taking an accurate view of just how bad things are. Destruction is always quicker than growth, and if Canada's current government is able to continue operating like a wrecking ball for another year and a half, we'll be adding decades to our recovery. Canada is objectively broken. In 2013,
So
this once great country was ranked.
So it's going to continue to play. And thanks. Yes, I put myself on mute, and I have to watch when I do that because then I don't turn the mute off. All I was saying that those are the views of Justin Trudeau of how he was going to, go forward with his governance and whatever. And let's just see if that's where it ended up. Right? Did it end up like that? So here's another point of view, right, from somebody. Let's see if you agree or not. Is it something that you also, do you think things are better or worse since Justin Trudeau has taken
Canada
over?
bracing for prolonged decline in living standards. Chrystia Freeland's optimistic view of Canada's economy contrasts sharply with recent findings from the Fraser Institute. Looking ahead, the report stresses the need for government reforms similar to those implemented in the early 1990s to reverse this trend. So is this economic state Canada's new normal?
Yeah, for at least the next decade. Here's a big reason why. Canada's productivity is lagging behind almost all other developed nations. The Canadian economy also relies on some less productive sectors like retail and accommodation. However, these industries are currently on a downward trend due to the shortage of disposable income. And compared to some other countries, Canada is lagging in investments that drive innovation and efficiency, something that will be getting significantly worse between now and 2027 due to Canada's substantial increase in taxes on new business investments across the Canadian economy. These measures were introduced in Trudeau's 2024 budget and are expected to reduce both investment and productivity at a time when they are critically needed. The other thing is we're also poised to let in record-setting number of immigrants over the next 3 years. 500,000 per year, 24, 25, and 26, plus the non-permanent, which are probably literally triple those numbers. Even if the economy gets better, by letting this many people in, our standard of living is going to continue to go down. If they're here, it is what it is. The place is already flooded. You got to turn the tap off or we're all going to drown.
Canada bracing for prolonged decline in living standards. Chrystia Freeland's optimistic view of Canada's economy contrasts sharply with recent findings from the Fraser Institute. Looking ahead,
so again,
the report
that's a reel,
stresses.
so it's going to just continue to go. So what do we think? Are things better now in the last 9 years? Has your standard of living gone up? Does your dollar buy more than it used to buy 9 years ago? What are you seeing in just your regular everyday life, how things are going? If you tried to buy a home recently, are you a renter? You buy groceries, gas, just regular everyday things that your life, that is your standard of living in Canada, right? So I don't know. Do you call what we're living in right now sunny ways? Was that a good term that he used? Did he come clean? Did he come good on? Did he come out with the goods? Did he deliver on his promises to deliver sunny ways to Canada? You be the judge. You look into it. You ask yourself these things, and then when you go to the polls or whatever, you can voice your opinion that way. And I guess in our democratic country, the way that it is now, that's the only choice you have to do, to some degree. Although you can get involved in your communities, very much so. Get involved in any way you can. Start at the grassroots to make our Canada better. You can start with yourself, start with your family, your friends, your community. And a lot of times that's the way to get things done, regardless, right? All right, so we will have to leave it at that. We're grateful for everybody that's commented today, listened to the show on CKLU or cklu.ca. Watched on Facebook or YouTube. Will be on demand on those platforms and twitter.com/Sudbury News and on our Sudbury.news website following the show. The conversation will continue on facebook.com on the video. You can just continue to comment on the issues going forward. We really appreciate you and the community that we are building here to discuss local issues and issues abroad, try to make sense of the world that we're living in, and educate ourselves and educate others at the same time. We're grateful that we have this opportunity each and every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30. Stay tuned now on CKLU for Earshot Daily, and we'll be back, God willing, same time, same place, on the same platforms tomorrow. Have a wonderful Tuesday, everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.